All right, Nick, let's talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season. Starting to hear a little bit more about next season and who the rising stars are in the recruiting game. There's a lot of names being thrown out there. Ohio State's of the world, Georgia's of the world, Texas. Everyone's talking about the big recruits they are, but falling vastly under the radar, I believe, is Notre Dame and what they have been able to accomplish for this upcoming 2026 class. It is nothing short of incredible, and I think Notre Dame fans are going to love what has been developing. We'll dive into all of this here in just 1 second. But first, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Notre Dame did a really great job in this 2026 class, and it's now starting to get realized when all of the final numbers, the recruits, everybody's jumping up, having their final resting place right before, signing day is coming upon us very quickly. We're starting to see who the top dog of recruiting is, and it is, in fact, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So let's jump into our first tweet, and then we get into a little bit more data on the other side. So this over on X from at Mike P. Singer. Over there, it says, Rivals updated its 2026 rankings today, so surely a bunch of Notre Dame commits dropped, right? Isn't that how it works? Nope, Notre Dame has the most players ranked inside the top 32 nationally with 6. Ohio State and Georgia are the next closest with 3 apiece. So Notre Dame has doubled them. Joey O'Brien and Ian Premier both ranked number 1 at their respective positions. Notre Dame is on track to sign its first top 5 class in over a decade. This is truly a special class from Marcus Freeman. And yes, indeed it is. Coach Freeman has done a fantastic job with this recruiting class. And as we can see, they're outdoing everybody by a large margin. Talk about top tier talent, top tier recruits in these classes. There's a lot of factors that go into the rankings, but doubling the next closest teams in Ohio State's and Georgia's of the world, looking really good for Notre Dame, who has quickly become a recruiting powerhouse under Marcus Freeman. And let's just look at the growth here for a second of the last 4 seasons, last 4 recruiting classes for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. We see the rankings here. 2023, they had the 12th overall recruiting class. In 2024, 9th, not bad, top 10, but you need to be a little closer to the top if you want to get wins in this national championship era. We get 2025, again, at 12th, not bad, but not great. And now we're seeing a projected 2026 finishing spot of 4th. Incredible by Notre Dame, but not just that. It's not just their rankings overall. Talk about the quality of recruit as well. And that leads us to our next chart, showing over the years just quality of recruit, the number of players that had a 95 plus grade in 24/7 sports. They have like a power ranking index that kind of gives them a average total. There's a lot of factors going to 100 being the highest score, but these are guys that have 95 plus grades in that ranking system. In 2023, they had 2. In 2024, they had 5. 2025, they had 3. In 2026, highest number yet, 6 guys overall with that 95 plus ranking. A really fantastic job by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This team is looking better and better as the years progress, and the future is looking brighter and brighter as well. This is a team that's really set up for a powerful 2026 season with all this high-level talent pouring into this class. Curious what your thoughts are on all of this, Nick, but before we get to you, Notre Dame fans, in the comment section below, are you more excited about this recruiting class than any other before? Did you realize that it is something that is, this impressive? 6 guys in the top 32. So let us know, what's your excitement level for this incoming 2026 recruiting class? And did you even notice, was this going under the radar for you as well? Did you know this something as special as this was happening for Marcus Freeman and this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team as well? Put it in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on everything here for Notre Dame?
So there have been basically two consistencies in college football, big time college football, over the past really 3, 4 years or so as Alabama under Nick Saban final years, now the new Alabama team has fallen off. The consistencies have been Ohio State and Georgia being the top dogs in the college football world when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to just talent on the field, right? That at least is the perception from a national media perspective. Those are the forces when it comes to getting the top recruits, and those are the forces for winning the two best conferences in college football, the SEC and the Big Ten. Not that they will win the Big Ten, the Ohio State or the SEC Georgia, but at least, by affect, by observing, they look like the two best teams. And obviously, both those programs have won national titles over the past 3, 4 years. So they kind of fall under that mold. But Notre Dame was very quickly, as this recruiting news has highlighted, moving right into that same category. And in fact, I think they're leapfrogging Georgia on an on-field performance basis when you get into the data, which we'll look into in a second. And they're leapfrogging Ohio State, as the report noticed, in the recruiting game as well, which means the field performance will follow. Because if there's one thing we know about Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman, is they're a great developmental program. They take talent coming in and they get them even better, right? Ohio State and Georgia, they're good staffs, they're great staffs, but they bring in great talent and they use them. Notre Dame brings in great talent and they make them even better. They bring in good talent and make them great. Great. They bring in above average talent and make it good. Now that the Fighting Irish are bringing in great talent, they'll bring them in and make them extraordinary. And that's a scary sight if you're one of the top programs in college football. But when I talk about performance right now and why I say Notre Dame is leapfrogging a team like Georgia and getting close to Ohio State, the data bears it out. Let's pull up this graphic I sent you, Mice, if you don't mind. This is courtesy of J. Bud Davis. I posted this on X, and this is just offensive adjusted EPA and defensive adjusted EPA per play. Now, basically, this is a lot of analytics. Basically, what it's saying on a per play basis, how good is your offense? That's the X axis, and how good is your defense? That's the Y axis. I personally love EPA, expected points added, just because I think it's the best analytical measure. It's not raw data like total yards or total points, and it's not some really funky, deep in the weeds analytics. EPA is just, hey, listen, how many expected points did you add on each play? Like if you score a touchdown, for example, that would be 6 points. If you throw a pick six, that would be -6 points, and every outcome in between, right? I just think, to me, that makes the most sense. And you can see the upper right-hand quadrant is where you want to be. That's good defense and good offense. And you see Ohio State's the best team in college football in that area. But not far behind them, you can see is Notre Dame. Again, a balanced team. Good offense, good defense, one of the best offenses in college football, not far behind Ohio State. And again, a really good defense. Again, not too far below a program like Ohio State as well. And again, if you look at the rankings, it's a top 10 offense, a top 5 or 6 defense, one of the more balanced programs in college football, just like the top national contenders. You can throw Oregon in the mix as well. But you'll notice where Georgia is, guys. Georgia actually is slightly worse in terms of offense and significantly worse in terms of defense. And this is who Notre Dame has leapfrogged. The Fighting Irish under Marcus Freeman have surpassed Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs this season on the playing field, and they're surpassing them in the recruiting department. So the second of the two top dogs in college football, no pun intended, Georgia guys, is now been surpassed. No longer Georgia, now Notre Dame. And Ohio State, as we've seen with the recruiting news, hot on the trail. We saw in the college football championship game last year that Ohio State just had more talent, right? The Jeremiah Smiths of the world, for example, won the day. And there's nothing against the Fighting Irish. They just close game like that, big moment. It comes down to, hey, just that 5-star, A+, first team All-American player who wins that matchup, and Ohio State did. And this year, the gap has narrowed. I think Notre Dame, again, quarterback upheaval, a lot of change, the way they've played the last 6, 7, 8 games. I think they're right up there with Ohio State, but I'd still give Ohio State maybe a slight edge, a smaller edge than what we saw in the national championship game last year, but still a slight edge, and the data bears that out. But if you look at recruiting, now Notre Dame is surpassing them, which means the performance on the field in short order will surpass Ohio State. That's a pretty easy prediction to make. Obviously, recruiting is the first indicator. If you get better players, you usually will play better, assuming you have a good coaching staff and a good program, which we all know Notre Dame does. So what does that mean? Long story short, all this data, all this commentary, what is it pointing to? It means in very short order, maybe not this season, maybe not even next season, but by 2027 for sure, 2028, I think the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to be the best team in college football. Undeniably so. And guess what? They're going to be competing for national titles. They already will be this season, and they will be next season too. So they're going to be right in the thick of it. You can make an argument they're the second best program in college football right now. They're going to be better next season and better the season after that. They are leapfrogging the top competition when it comes to acquiring talent, which we all know, as much as we want to talk about, X's and O's and transfers and things like that. Recruiting, recruiting, recruiting. That's what leads to championships. And that's what Notre Dame is doing better than anybody else right now, especially when we look at the top contenders, Ohio State and Georgia. I look at this Fighting Irish program under Marcus Freeman, and I feel like every time we talk about them, it's just another story, another piece of evidence that says, man, they're great and they're getting better. It's a real credit to him and his staff. They lose Bowden to USC, and a lot of people wonder, was he the secret sauce? Doesn't look like that was the case at all. This Fighting Irish program is very quickly becoming the top force in college football.
Yeah, Nick, and I completely agree. I do believe Bowden, nothing to do with it. I mean, he's not a bad, guy to have on staff, but Notre Dame's secret sauce is 100% Marcus Freeman, what he brings to this team. And I think this is a great example of, just giving a coach a little bit of time to do his thing. And we've seen the progression over a couple of 4 years now of what's been going on. And it's just showing coming into this 4th year, they're really making a huge leap. And as we've seen, last year being, right down to the bitter end, national championship contenders. This year, once again, national championship contenders for Notre Dame as well. This is a team that is on a hot streak. And I believe what you said is 100% true. I think they have a chance this year. But I think in 1, maybe 2 years, this is a team that people aren't going to be saying, oh, well, Notre Dame has a chance to win the national championship. It's going to be like the Ohio State of the world where they go, well, all right, the national championship this year is probably going to be Ohio State and somebody else. It's going to be, well, the national championship this year is going to be Notre Dame and whatever team can slot in, fit in, win their way up to that level with them. So that's what we're getting towards. That's what Marcus Freeman has done here. And that's what is so impressive about what they have done. This is absolutely phenomenal recruiting class, but it's been coupled with good recruiting classes. This is their first, I'd say, great recruiting class. I'm really excited to see what kind of fruits it gives on the field.